What's up? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel, Sports, Life, and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective, and I'm here for the news. And I'm going to be going over several clips today that's going around nationally and internationally. And, over the past 10, 15 years, we've slowly watched the United States and the world descend into chaos. Now, you have two different kind of chaoses. You have a chaos that is random, and then you have a controlled chaos. And the controlled chaos is the most dangerous because the people who control the chaos, they'll be the ones that start the chaos, and then have found the solutions to the chaos to make them look like the heroes. And to me, that's exactly what we're getting a front row seat of, allegedly. But obviously, we have the war in Palestine. Benjamin Netanyahu, very, very low poll numbers in his country. And at this point, they're sick of him. They want him out. And the biggest question in Israel right now is what happened the day of Israelis 9/11? How did Hamas infiltrate from 15 different places at once without them having no idea? And I told you time and time again, and the United States admitted that they told Israel this was happening. They knew it was coming the whole time and they wanted it to happen. It's kind of like Pearl Harbor. Most people think Pearl Harbor was a surprise attack. It was not. The United States knew that Pearl Harbor was coming, but they gave them the justification to join World War II. And you might say, well, what does that have to do with Israel? Everything. Because at that time, the Jewish people, especially the elites, the bankers, and the major figures of the world, wanted the United States to join World War II because they wanted Palestine. And I told you before that after World War II, they went into Palestine. But really, the plan was hatched after World War I, believe it or not. So after World War I, the plan was hatched. All of the Jews who were in Germany and across the world, they came together, and Germany was really with it. So, a lot of the German Jews ended up flipping the script, turning on the Germans, and then thus you have World War II. Now, obviously, there's a lot of details that go into that, but hey, during those times, a lot of the Jewish people, elites, especially elites, not all, but the elites, were what you would call communists, and still are today. I don't know if most people have ever heard of Karl Marx, the term Marxism. He was the originator of Marxism / socialism / communism, all branches of the same tree. It's the equivalent of somebody saying, hey, I'm a patriot. Hey, I bleed red, white, and blue. Hey, I love America. That all means the same thing. And that goes the same for communism, Marxism, socialism. So if you ever hear somebody say they're a socialist, that means they're a communist. If you ever hear anybody say they're a communist, that means they're Marxists. You hear somebody say they're a Marxist, that means they're a socialist. All of them work together. But I'm going to go over this clip. Protesters demand Netanyahu's resignation in Israel, in the Israel-Hamas war. Let's take a look at this clip.
Inside Israel, the Hamas terror attacks and the government response have sharpened the country's already intense political divisions, and many people heap blame on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for what's happening. Randy Anderson is following this part of the story. Randy, good morning.
Good morning. In a new poll by an Israeli news station, 76% of Israelis, that's 3 out of 4 people, say Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should resign, blaming him for the security failures of October 7th. Angry protesters paid Israel's prime minister a home visit, chanting, "Jail now."
And you see that say, go to hell. Now, in the Bible, there's a verse, Revelations 3:9. It say, I know who those who say there are Jews, but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. That don't mean all Jewish people are the synagogue of Satan. I'm not saying that. That's not true. But a lot of these Zionists allegedly are Satanists / communists. Karl Marx was Jewish. So it makes sense that Karl Marx is born in the 1800s and this The whole thing about the Marxism and socialism, all of that grew out of the 1800s from him. And he was a Jewish man, so it makes sense that the early years they would adopt communism. And still to this day, that's the government of choice for the rich and the powerful and the elite.
Echoing cries across the country.
He has to resign. Lying again and again and again and again.
Moshe Rabin leads anti-Netanyahu protests.
A leader needs to think 100% about our soldiers and our country.
And let me tell you this, these protests in Israel has been going on for a long time, but our media haven't been showing it. But it's grown so large and so big, now it's undeniable. Now you have to show it.
0% about Israel. This is for true.
Anger has snowballed against him for striking down the Supreme Court's independence this year for corruption charges from 2016. And for billing himself as Mr. Security in political campaigns, saying he would take care of Israel's children. Now, more than 36 of those children are believed to be among the hostages held by Hamas. October 7th is Israel's biggest security failure in 50 years. The Prime Minister has not apologized. Why has he not taken responsibility?
Doesn't want to have anything on record saying he has responsibility for anything.
Tal Schneider is political correspondent for the Times of Israel.
He has a followers base of loyalists. Netanyahu, as a prime minister, was compared to President Trump. Netanyahu is much more sophisticated.
But even still, Netanyahu...
They say Benjamin Netanyahu was much more sophisticated than Donald Trump. I wouldn't say that. Donald Trump is sophisticated in his own way. Donald Trump is no idiot. A lot of people think Donald Trump is stupid and dumb and all. He is not. He is a hell of a businessman. He knows exactly what he's doing, what he said. He knows how to draw certain things out of certain people at certain times. You can have different level of intelligence. You know, being smart is relative to your circumstances and situations. If you drop the world's greatest brain surgeon off in the middle of the Amazon, is he smart? It's all about the circumstance and situation. So, yeah, I don't agree with that, but, you know.
May not be able to survive this time.
Our country deserves better. Our people deserve better. Enough.
Netanyahu has avoided taking any responsibility for the security failures of October 7th, but he has said that he is responsible for winning the war.
And that's all he wants to talk about is winning the war. He doesn't want to talk about the security failures. He want to pivot away from that as much as possible. But it's going to be damn near impossible for him to do that. But they're going to keep doing it, trying to pivot away from that because they know for a fact that they let them in. That's not alleged. They knew that was coming. I'm sorry. They knew that was coming because our defense secretary, Lloyd Austin, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's his name, Lloyd Austin. He said in a live press conference that we knew that Hamas was up to something and such. That means they knew everything. If he's leading on and giving you tidbits and crumbs here, that means they knew every single thing that was happening. That means Israel knew every single thing that was happening. So this whole thing is, you know, it's a ruse to an extent.
He says there will be a time and place for an investigation and blame, but now is not that time. Tony.
Brittany, thank you very much.
You know, and here's Dave Murray presses Netanyahu on whether he takes responsibility for the intelligence failure on Israel 9/11. Quote unquote. When I say 9/11, I mean that basically it was an inside job. That's what I'm alleging. But it's really not even alleged. It's just, you know, sometimes you got to throw that in there. But as you can see, the clip is only 1 minute. So our media is not going to press these people too hard. But the question is out there and it's being asked so much on social media. It's being asked so much in his own country of Israel. You just seen all of the protesters out there. Let's take a look at this 1 minute clip.
As Prime Minister, do you personally bear any responsibility here?
I've said that there are going to be very tough questions that are going to be asked, and I'm going to be among the first to answer them. We're not going to evade that. The responsibility of a government is to protect the people. Clearly, that responsibility wasn't met.
But you know what I'm asking here, because so many Israeli officials, including the defense minister, the military intelligence chief, the military chief of staff, they've all taken some responsibility for Israel being caught off guard. They didn't say we have to wait for investigation here. Do you believe that you should take any responsibility?
Of course, it's not a question. It's going to be resolved after the war. I think there'll be time to.
He said, of course, it's going to be all resolved after the war. After the war, we'll figure it out. After the war, nobody's going to be asking these tough questions 5 years from now. These need to be answered now because you bombing today. You guys are relentless right now on the Palestinians right now. As a black man, am I picking sides? No, I am not picking sides as a Negro. Man, we got too many problems as Negroes of our own that we need to fix. I just like history and I like the political theater, so I'm sitting back watching. And I like to pick apart lies, and I like to see how people dance around questions and how they play the political game and the geopolitical game. And, it's all interesting to me. But look, all of the people in Palestine, all the Palestinians, they're left over for the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire, they ejected some people out of there who were dark-skinned. So,
We're all sitting here. The responsibility of government, responsibility of me as Prime Minister, is to protect the people of Israel. We could not achieve that, clearly. We didn't achieve that. But we have to decide exactly what we need to do differently next time. Right now, we have one thing to do, and that is to win the war. And I'm not dealing with my personal fate. I'm dealing with the fate of the country.
I mean, personally, do I think Benjamin Netanyahu was a demon? Allegedly. But let's take a look at this next clip. President Biden, dwindling support. New polls reveal potential trouble in the next upcoming election. Now, let me say this. President Biden had no business being president in the first place. But he is, and it is what it is. But this time around, he's lost so much support, it's ridiculous. Now, Democrats, since the Civil Rights Act, have garnered over 90% support. Even up in this last election, I think it was in the high 80s. It's down to 49%. That's historic. He's historically low with Latinos. He really has no chance in hell. He has like a 2 or 3% chance if they can sink Donald Trump with all of these allegations and court hearings, and if they can find him guilty and all of these different things surrounding him. But outside of that, he doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell. He's basically a plucked duck. And you know what they do to plucked ducks? They cook them. Fried, dyed, laid to the side. Red, green, and red beans and gravy. The man's too lazy to win another election. Yeah, he's finished. This is a plucked duck you're looking at. He's 197 years old. He's a Manchurian candidate. He doesn't have his wits. And he's never been a great orator. He's never been a great speaker. He never had the voice to galvanize. You have different kind of people who can speak. Some people have a voice to galvanize. Barack Obama. Some people have a voice of calming. I just talked about the Defense Secretary of today, which is Lloyd Austin. He has a voice that's calming. Now, he might be lying and selling some bullshit, but I'm just talking about the pitch and the volume of the voice and what the voice. This man has the voice of a creep, a predator. So let's take a look at the clip.
In 1 year, America heads to the ballot box to elect a new president, and new polls are spelling some trouble for President Joe Biden. He's losing support from key Democratic blocs, and he's trailing former President Donald Trump in several swing states. Our Janae Bowens explains.
Less than a year away from Election Day 2024, and President Joe Biden has a lot of work ahead of him to secure a second term.
He just looks weak, and I'm not talking about physically.
Harsh criticism from comedian and media personality Charlamagne the God.
More like Charlamagne the devil. He's also a Luciferian and a pansexual himself. Some of these people, they plop on TV, these black. Anytime you see these type of black people in front of you who's an entertainer and he's telling you about news and this, that, and the third, it's because the Democratic Party do not want Joe Biden to run again. They know that's a lost cause. They know he doesn't have anything where he can sell people anything at this point. He's done for. He's cooked. That's why he was a senator his whole life. He was never meant to be a true president. But for them, it worked out a little bit, but the man can't even stand up straight without falling. So, yeah, his usefulness has ran out. anytime you see Democratic shills like Charlemagne the God come out here and criticize a Democratic presidential candidate or the president, but somebody who's running again to be reelected, you know for a fact that's coming from the Democratic Party, and they don't want him there no more.
Highlights Biden's waning support from key Democratic voting blocs. An ABC Ipsos poll shows Biden's favorability with blacks is low at 49%.
That's crazy.
Even lower with Hispanics at 33%. Support from younger voters is lagging too. A Quinnipiac poll shows independent presidential candidate 69-year-old Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has more support from voters ages 18 to 34.
But the problem with Robert Kennedy is he doesn't have any energy. There's no enthusiasm for him. Nobody's like, oh my God, Robert. You know, I remember when Obama was running. There's certain presidents when Trump was running, they have energy. They have synergy. They have all of the people behind them. They can whip a crowd into a frenzy. They can draw out emotions. Look at these two duds. These are two duds. These is mothballs.
He's got 38%. 80-year-old Biden has 32%.
If you're that young, he just seems like someone from a different era.
When it comes to the potential matchup between Biden and former President Donald Trump, new numbers from the New York Times and Siena College shows President Biden falls behind Trump in 5 of the 6 battleground states. Voters say the economy and Biden's...
And when you look at these numbers, some of them you might say, that's not too bad. 6+ in Georgia, 5 in Michigan, 5 in Arizona, 5-4. Those numbers are astronomically in favor of Donald Trump. Because you got to realize, Biden is from Pennsylvania. I think he's from Scranton. To be 4 points behind is the equivalent of being down by 30 points in basketball or football. To be down by 5 points in Michigan is ridiculous. Like, usually the margin for error for a Republican will be 51-49. A really big number will be 52-48. That would be astronomical. But look how much he's down already. They have to concoct some kind of scheme to throw off Donald Trump at this point. They have to. These numbers are astronomical.
age are 2 huge factors.
A lot of concern about the age issue, and that is something that I think he needs to ponder.
Former Obama advisor David Axelrod suggesting Biden needs to carefully think about whether he should continue to seek re-election.
Just do it.
See what I told you? They don't want him no more. David Axelrod, he don't want him in there no more. The Democratic Party, they don't want him in there no more. ABC News, these are left-leaning programs, news programs. They lean to the left. If they're on here with full segments of criticizing and they know election is coming up, what does that tell you? How bad it is behind the scenes.
Back and say, is this the right thing to do?
However, Trump's legal troubles could be Biden's saving grace.
That's his only
As
saving
the
grace.
Shows roughly 6% of voters across those 5 swing states would switch from Trump to Biden if Trump is convicted.
Trump has been very skillful.
So you hear that? That means they're going to do everything in their power to get him convicted. That's how I told you this whole thing was a ruse with Donald Trump. The stuff that they're trying to convict him of is politicians been doing that since the beginning of the time. Yeah, it's political 101 for a lot of the shit that he was doing. They was talking about, oh, he had top secret documents, and then come to find out Joe Biden had top secret documents next to his damn Corvette just sitting out in the garage.
And kind of belittling the attempts to get him, whether it's on impeachment or convictions or January 6th hearing.
Now, Amira, another political expert tells me it's still too early to read much into these poll numbers. Anything can happen between now and next November. But the consistently negative poll results for Biden should have his campaign worried.
Yeah, absolutely concerning developments here. How is the Biden campaign really handling all of this?
So I spoke with the Biden campaign spokesperson, and he told me it's too early for these types of polls. He also points to the fact that
You ever notice When these people be down, it's too early for the polls. When you up, these polls are 100% correct and on the money. And, it's just a matter of whether you up or you down. They know they've been in trouble for a very long time, and they know that. And this is why ABC News, NBC News, CNBC, all of them are basically, you'll see hit pieces on Biden. They'll be light, but it won't be full bore, but it'll be criticism, something that they didn't used to do before, like real criticism, like they'll really bring up something that, that they normally wouldn't. So, Biden's in trouble. And the Democratic Party is most definitely in trouble. They don't have no candidates. They don't have no synergy. They don't have no energy. And they don't have anybody to galvanate for the Democratic Party to galvanate behind. Yeah, so they're through.
For President Barack Obama had similar approval ratings when he was running for re-election. However, David Axelrod, who you just heard from, says one of the big differences is age. Obama was 50 and Biden is 80 years old. Amira.
All right, Janae Bowman's live in DC for us. Thank you.
Well, it don't really matter whether he's 50 or 80. Biden never really had it. He never had that it factor to galvanize a whole country to get behind him. That's very difficult to do. It takes a real talent. Like I always say, these people are paid actors on television, and he's not that great at it. And he's not a wordsmith or orator, and he can't really speak very well at all. So, and it doesn't help. He's 175 years old and a creep, allegedly behind the scenes / pedophile. Allegedly. It's terrifying that Obama is running the Biden White House. Would that be surprising? Absolutely not. We know, I've told you before, that a lot of times when these presidents are in office, they're not the people who run in the country. They're basically somebody who sits in on a corporation, like a CEO or a CFO. They're just a person who's in position, but they don't own the company. There are international bankers who make a lot of these decisions. There are people who are within deep government who make a lot of these decisions, and these people are just placeholders and mouthpieces. That's all. That's it. That's all. Let's take a look at this.
President Biden signing one of the most sweeping executive orders ever, more than 100 pages long, issuing the first government regulations for AI. Oh dear. But apparently,
let me ask you a question. It's a legitimate question. Look at Joe Biden's face. Do you think, for 1 second, he read all 100 pages, or you think they handed it to him and he signed it? I would almost guarantee you he doesn't even know what's in that shit. He doesn't even know what's in that. Look at Kamala Harris. Look at the smirk on Kamala Harris's face. They think this shit is a joke. And she's laughing. She know he ain't read that shit. He probably told her, I ain't read a word of this shit, right before he signed it, and everybody laughs and giggles, and he have no idea. And this executive order, for all you know, this be the goddamn Terminator they decided it to legislation. So, what it is. This the world we stay in.
apparently he didn't do it alone. Biden reportedly getting a big assist from his former boss, President Obama, who visited the White House to help Biden and his staff on the AI initiative. And
yeah, he didn't help him shape it. He wrote it. This was his idea. This is something that he most definitely 100% had his hands all over. Obama's probably living right under the White House as we speak. Ain't no tell. He probably got a room in the basement or a room upstairs. They might have Joe Biden sleeping in the basement and Obama's still in the goddamn room, for all we know.
And there, Obama now taping robocalls for Democrats in key Virginia legislative races, raising questions about how involved he is in national affairs.
Very involved.
Joins us now. So, Raymond, I was under the impression that AI was under Kamala's portfolio, which didn't give me a lot of confidence. But now we hear it's really Obama.
Well, Rachel, remember in the old James Bond series, there was Spectre, which was this shadowy organization with its tentacles into everything. That's for.
Hey, let me tell you this, and they talk about these, Spectre and 007 and James Bond and all that shit. A lot of that shit rings true. I always tell you, they tell you the truth in movies and TV shows, and they lie to you on the news, or exaggerate, or use propaganda. But they can really tell you the truth in the movie and hide behind it's just a movie. But let's hear him again.
But now we hear it's really Obama.
Rachel, remember the old James Bond series? There was Spectre, which was this shadowy organization with its tentacles into everything. That's Barack Obama when it comes to the Biden White House. Here's why.
Does that make Joe Biden James Bond?
Well, not quite. More like a very aged variety. Here's the Inspector Clouseau. Here's the reality. You have someone who, for 5 months, Barack Obama, has been the consultant on AI. Not only consultant, he's been interfacing with the tech companies and the White House. Let's face it, he wrote this executive order.
Of course he did.
Sent out to the world. And then he put words in Kamala Harris's mouth because it is Obama who's obsessed with this idea of, and I'm going to quote it, algorithmic discrimination and bias in AI, meaning diversity and equity in AI. He wants to import those values to control the growth of AI and to have the government keep its paw on top of the innovation that's possible in AI. Now, look, they're real
That
dangerous
doesn't
here.
surprise me at all.
No,
That Obama would want to use AI for his own political power and in the power of his movement.
Yes, and
You know, that's a video for another day. That's a very good question. Is Obama still running the White House along with Kamala Harris? Because we know it's not Joe Biden. There's just no way. He doesn't have his wits about him anymore. That's literally a cobweb inside his head. He has a cobweb on the outside of his head, and he has a cobweb on the inside of his head.
It's information. He wants to control the disinformation. Where have we heard this before, Rachel? We had tech companies controlling information throughout COVID. They were by and large wrong. They were controlling things that were accurate. I'm very concerned that the government has gone too far, and this 111-page executive order goes too far, allowing the government to tamp down on innovation and stop the freedom of these tech companies to develop good, wholesome, positive technologies. Look,
I
national
don't think there's
security should be
anything wholesome
protected.
about AI. I'm really actually concerned. I was already concerned about AI. Now I'm worried that Obama's in charge of AI.
Right.
It's all gotten worse. So let's just talk about this
Yeah.
as well, because it's not just AI. I mean, we know he's in Colorado, he's in DC.
Yes.
The only president who was not disabled, who didn't leave
Didn't leave
DC.
town.
He didn't leave town. He and Valerie Jarrett are there, and they're running things
Yeah.
as well as elections in Virginia.
All of his acolytes are in key power positions in the Biden administration. From John Kerry, who's former Secretary of State, you got Blinken, who was Kerry's number 2. And if you don't think this policy that we're seeing in the Middle East, this
That's
mincing back and forth, weak diplomacy, inviting terrorism, inviting our enemies to attack, that's classic Obama policy. And now we have another example of it. I didn't realize Obama's now doing these robocalls in Virginia. Guess why? His former Attorney General Eric Holder runs something called the National Democratic Redistricting Committee. Isn't that interesting? Again, the Obama pause in the future of the party, the foreign policy of the party, AI in the party, information flow in the party, and domestic policy. The guy is running this White House. And as example of that, we know from White House staffers this week that Biden's approach to AI was shaped by watching Mission Impossible. So maybe...
Do I believe that? You bet your sweet ass I believe that. But I told you, look, do I believe he read 110 pages? Hell no. AI? The man can barely stand up and put together a proper sentence. Nevertheless, reading something as complex as artificial intelligence and algorithms and all that shit, he ain't doing that.
Obama is a step up, given that Tom Cruise was the last briefing on AI that Biden got.
Yeah, no, this is scary. Eric Holder, Valerie Jarrett, Obama, all still running things. This is the third term.
I mean, it is what it is. It's the world we stay in, you guys. It's always a bunch of chicanery behind the scenes, tomfoolery. I mean, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. There's no doubt about that. Let's take a look at this. Pro-Palestinian crowds try to storm airbase housing U.S. troops in Turkey. Let's take a look. And will this thing escalate? You goddamn Skippy, this shit's gonna escalate. Every day that they drop them bombs and they don't have a ceasefire, escalation is possible. And I told you before, personally, this is my personal opinion, and I'm alleging this, that they 100% want the escalation. There's no doubt about that. Why? Maybe it's time for World War III. A lot of this stuff is biblical, but everything that they're doing, they know is going to cause escalation. They know this. I mean, what can you do? What can you do? Then they got this. Jewish man dies after confrontation with pro-Palestinian group. Now, I don't think he was hurt or harmed or beaten. I just think that he passed out and probably had a heart attack. That's what it looked like. If he was beaten, that would have been on every channel. But yeah, he was out there and his ass was too old. He had no business out there. But I'm not going to even watch that clip. I'm going to go to this next clip. LA homeowner fights back against armed intruders. Now, when you go to somebody's home and you looking to intrude them and they have a wife and kids, daughter, and all that shit, you really literally putting your life on the line. This man had every right to kill these people right where they stood. He was lucky that they did not die. It's an LA homeowner fights back against armed intruder. Let's take a look at this clip.
Attempted home invasion caught on camera, but the unsuspecting homeowner lines up pulling a gun on his attackers. I'm Julian.
I'm Michelle Fisher, that homeowner speaking out about the frightening ordeal to Eyewitness News reporter Sophie Clay. She is live in Koreatown.
And it looked like he threw some hot coffee on him or something. He had something in his hand, and he threw it at him and then got on their ass. Great move by him, you know. If you got a wife and daughter at home, hey, I'm going to have to die trying. You know, you can't die letting them in the house or letting them tie you up or do anything to your family. If they going to do it, hey, I went out with a bang. So he did the right thing, and, you know, shout out to him.
Story for us tonight, Sophie.
Michelle, we spoke to the man who defended himself and his family after two intruders tried to enter his home. He wanted to remain anonymous because this is still an ongoing investigation. Terrifying surveillance video shows a masked intruder with a gun run up to this Mid-City man about to walk in his front door. The homeowner pulls out his gun to defend himself, firing shots at the two intruders, quickly entering a shootout.
I guess they decided to try to come at me and come in the house, but I have a 5-month-old baby and a wife in the house, and that wasn't going to happen. There was nothing in my house I was worth dying for, but I was worried about my family.
The shootout happened.
And, you know, he damn right. There was nothing in the house worth dying for except his wife and kids. All the other stuff, you know, you wouldn't care if somebody took that. But you can't replace that kid. You can't replace that wife. You can't replace your life. So he did the right thing. He had that pistol on him and he went to work on him.
Saturday night around 7:30, the homeowner walks to the front door, grabbing for his keys. Two intruders jump the front gate. One intruder runs up to the front door. The Mid-City man
Let me tell you this. The intruder made a terrible decision. Number one, he ran way too close to the man. Once you run that close, it's so easy for somebody to, you know, grab your arm or move you or do something to you. Especially a lot of these people is weed smokers. They ain't that strong. Yeah, they're young and they do have youth on their side, but they ain't like they just lifting weights all goddamn day. They ain't really that goddamn strong. They just have a little youth on them. So he was able to push him off and then get to that pistol and then start doing his thing.
his teeth, pulls out his gun, and starts shooting.
And I know I felt someone run up behind me, put something in my back, and I put a pistol to my back, and somebody else run it up.
When shots are fired, the intruders disperse. One fires back, scrambling to hop over the side fence. The other hops over the front gate and runs away. After the attack, the family filed a report with the LAPD Olympic Division.
It's a matter of time before these people get caught. I think they should just pick a new career before they do end up in jail.
We reached out to LAPD Olympic Division for more information about the suspects, but did not hear back. Live in Koreatown, Sophie Clay, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Shout out to that man. You know, he did exactly what he needed to do and should have did. And there's no doubt about that he had every right to kill them where they stood. They lucky they was able to get away. Will they learn their lesson? No, because neither one of them was shot and neither one of them was caught. As of yet. Now, if they catch him, maybe you can learn from it going down the line. But you're going to have to go to jail and go to prison and hope them guys in there ain't fucking on you. Because you know that's coming as your little ass get in there. They get the ramrod you. Let's take a look at this. Verify the truth about daylight savings time. Now, I want to go over this because in some states they said they was getting rid of daylight saving time. Then all of a sudden, daylight saving times is working in other states. And I always wondered, where in the hell did daylight saving times come from? Well, it came out of World War II. They was trying to save some time and save some money, and all of a sudden they came up with daylight saving time. When they brought it back home, they said, "Hey, we're gonna use this, and it's gonna save us money on electricity bills." Is it saving us money? Let's take a look at the clip.
Either love it or hate it, daylight savings time is a
I hate daylight savings
A lot of
time.
people ever do wonder why it exists in the first place. One myth is that it saves electricity, but as Brandon Lewis from our National Verified team found out, it's not exactly true.
The U.S. first adopted daylight saving time during World War I to save
I said World War II, actually World War One.
fuel that generates electricity. And as the nation gets ready to switch to standard time, we get a lot of questions about the point of the semi-annual clock change. According to the Department of Energy, daylight saving time was seen as a means to help reduce electricity use in buildings. So let's verify. Does daylight saving time significantly reduce electricity use? Our sources are the U.S. Department of Energy, the International Association for Energy Economics, the Congressional Research Service, the Uniform Time Act of 1966, and the National Bureau of Economic Research. DST ended nationwide in 1919 after the war, but began again during World War II. It ended again nationwide after the war, but many places kept using it, creating a patchwork of time zones. Eventually, in 1966, Congress passed the Uniform Time Act to standardize time within the zones that we have today. While the original intent was to save fuel during wartime, in 2006, after Congress extended DST by 2 months, the U.S. Department of Energy concluded, quote, total potential electricity saving benefits of extended daylight saving time are relatively small, unquote. However, that study only looked at March and October because those are the months that Congress added to DST. When researchers in Indiana looked at all 8 months of DST, they found it actually cost residents an additional $9 million a year in energy costs when the state started observing the time change in 2006.
And that's in one state. So imagine nationwide. Yeah. So yeah, that's a phony ass hustle. Probably $1 billion extra they make it a year.
This was because while lighting use dropped, there was more demand for heating and cooling. So it's false that daylight saving time significantly reduces electricity use in the U.S. If you're verifying, I'm Brandon Lewis. To receive daily fast facts to your phone, text verify to 202-410.
You learn something new every day, y'all. But we got one final clip of the day. Alabama preacher F.L. Bubba Copeland kills himself after being discovered that he was a trans man. Now, in the Bible, they always talk about, not always talk about, but in Revelations, they say there's going to be 7 different churches. And almost all of these churches is misleading people. And these type of preachers are misleading people. This man is clearly a pansexual. You never know, might even be a pedophile. They would have to go across his computer, his phone records and his history, search history, but I wouldn't be shocked. But this man was dressing up like a woman while preaching to people, while really preaching the gospel in his mind. But that's why you can't listen to everybody. And everybody is not a man of God. Some of these people are frauds and phonies. Let's take a look at the clip.
I've
been an object of an internet attack. An article that was written about my capacity as a mayor, capacity as a pastor. The article is not who, what I am.
He was married, a father of 3, and he killed himself. Now, it's not like he was just watching some kind of fetish porn or feet or sex and bondage. He was actually indulging in his fantasies, both physically and mentally. So he wasn't just dibbling and dabbling. They always say the truth gonna come to the light. There's no doubt about that. There's no way in your spare time you're gonna be a preacher. You're gonna be a preacher in your day-to-day job, and then in your spare time you're gonna be a trans cross-dresser. and think that's never come to light. For him to kill himself, that was cowardly. Because no matter what, even if he is all these things, his kids still loved him. You know. Now, this man was in the church house preaching to people. You know, the first time I seen this clip, you guys, I was listening, I was hearing, and then I kind of looked away and looked back up. I thought that when they said he had 3 kids, because they said he had 3 kids, and then I thought this was his daughter. I was like, God damn, his daughter look exactly like him. Shit, she didn't got too many of his genes. Then I looked, it says transgender curvy girl. Now, I'm not laughing at this man committed suicide because that's not funny. But what I'm laughing at is that, look at this. He's living a lie. Look, I respect the trans people who actually are all the way out there. They say, hey, I'm trans, this is what it is. At least you know where you stand with them and you know they're not lying, they're not living a lie. They are, I mean, what I mean is they're not hiding it from you of what they are. This man was clearly hiding this from the world, but obviously his wife knew. And I wouldn't be surprised if his wife didn't take this picture. But I mean, we stand in the world, boy. If this ain't Sodom and Gomorrah, I don't know what is. And then there he is right there. You see this man walking down the street, you think it's just every average everyday white man. And then when he get home, the motherfucker turns into Diana Ross. Unbelievable. Only on Sports Life and Politics TV. Let me see. Who was exposed by 1819 News in an article which described Copeland's secret life online as a transgender woman under the synonym Brittany Blair Summerlin. I mean, that's crazy. You know, is it surprising? No, but it's just a little jarring considering what his job was. But like I said, you know, a lot of these churches are full of false teachers and what they call false prophets. And this man was living a lie all this time. And then he cowardly killed himself. He shouldn't, you know, you got to face the music. This is what you was doing. This is who you are. You might as well came on out. At that point, you was outed. So it wasn't like there was no, you can't rewind it. They say Copeland told the publication that his online alter ego was harmless, a harmless hobby he used to relieve stress, and that he was not medically treasured. Let me tell you, you ain't even wearing some tight ass jeans and high heel boots ain't relieving no goddamn stress. And alter egos are Luciferian in its own nature. Because let me tell you what, anytime you hear a person say, it's my alter ego, that means that alter ego can do anything. It can molest a child. It can be a serial killer. It can beat your wife. It can beat a wife. It can beat kids. It can do anything. It's the alter ego. That's not me. That's an alter ego that did that. So this man was a Luciferian behind the scene while in the church. This is why the Bible and Christianity is two separate things. That's why I had to learn to separate the two about 15 years ago. Because I was blaming the church for this. And the Bible, and I was thinking the Bible and the church was all the same. But it's not. And the Bible excludes all of this and it explains all of it. But most people don't read it, so they don't understand. Hey, and these people are some real class acts. Look how they just threw Trump in the picture. I tell you, they'll do anything to destroy Trump. 2 days later, police were called to do a welfare check on Copeland and tailed his car before he got out of his vehicle and he shot himself. And then what does Donald Trump got to do with this? Donald Trump has nothing to do with this, man. He's a politician, and this guy was running for some kind of office probably, and he went through town, and somehow they got this clip and posted that at the end. Unbelievable. The world we live in. Like I said, they'll do anything. They got to do something because Joe Biden is finished. He's a plugged up. He's ready to be cooked, fried, dyed, laid to the side, red beans and gravy. The man's too lazy to win another election. He's done. But this has been Sports, Life, and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective. I'm here for the news. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I just took your ass on a Karl Marx socialism / communism / Marxism ride. Peace.